Your dog licked your feet this morning, then followed you to the bathroom, then dropped into that weird stretch the second you walked through the door. You probably didn't think much of it, but here's what's actually happening. Your dog has been communicating with you in complete sentences this entire time, and you've been reading it as noise. Dogs have a dedicated organ on the roof of their mouth, the vomeronasal organ, also called Jacobson's organ, that lets them taste chemical signals invisible to human senses. They can detect hormones in your sweat. They track where you've been. They feel your emotional state before you've consciously registered it yourself. And that's just the beginning. Because beyond scent, dogs use at least 10 distinct physical behaviors to communicate specific emotional states: trust, loyalty, love, anxiety, relief. And most people misread every single one. Stay until the end and you'll learn exactly why your dog guards the doorway like a soldier, what it means when they bring you a sock, and how the direction of a head tilt tells you whether your dog is trying to understand your feelings or decode your words. Plus, one sleeping position that, if your dog does it next to you, is one of the strongest declarations of love any creature can make toward another. Hit that like button right now, before you've even seen the evidence. Think of it as trusting me the same way your dog trusts you. Blindly, completely. You can always take it back. Spoiler, you can't take it back. Now, let's start at the floor. Your feet are disgusting to other humans. To your dog, your feet are a library. Every step you take deposits sweat, hormones, and biochemical residue onto the ground. And when your dog presses their nose or tongue to your feet, they're not being weird, they're reading. The vomeronasal organ detects non-volatile chemical signals that standard smell can't process: stress hormones, reproductive markers, emotional signatures. A dog that licks your feet more than usual isn't being affectionate in the simple sense. They've detected elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, in your skin secretions, and they're responding with physical contact, which dogs use to regulate emotional states both in each other and in their humans. This is a documented behavioral pattern. The dog senses your distress before you've told anyone, and their response is direct, physical, persistent. Part emotional sponge, part biological therapist, working the problem with their tongue. And they don't stop at the feet. If you've ever tried to close the bathroom door on your dog and they scratched, whined, or simply sat outside staring at it like a small, furry bouncer, you already know they will follow you everywhere. The bathroom, the shower, the closet at midnight. People interpret this as cleanliness. What it actually is, guard behavior. In wild canid packs, members protect each other during vulnerable moments. Moments when attention is divided and an attack could succeed. A closed door doesn't signal privacy to a dog. It signals that their person has disappeared into an enclosed space where they can't be monitored. So the dog remains on post. Not because they're anxious, but because they've taken on a responsibility. They're saying, "You go in there, I'll be right here." That's not weird. That's one of the oldest loyalty behaviors in the canid repertoire, running 2,000 years deep into the domestication of your species' relationship with theirs. But here's where it gets more specific. When you talk to your dog, and most people talk to their dogs constantly, your dog tilts their head. You've seen it, the slight angle, the ear lift, the intense attention. Researchers at Eötvös Loránd University found something remarkable when studying this behavior. Gifted dogs, dogs that had learned the names of specific toys, tilted their heads 43% of the time when their owner named one of those toys. Dogs that hadn't learned toy names almost never tilted at all. The tilt isn't decoration, it's concentration. The dog is attempting to match the sound you're making to a mental image, to build a bridge between your word and a concept they've stored. And there's more. Studies on brain lateralization in dogs show asymmetries in how they process emotional versus semantic speech. When a dog hears emotionally loaded tone, they show right hemisphere dominance. When processing familiar commands, left hemisphere. The tilt direction may be tracking which processing mode they're operating in. Your dog is literally working hard every time you speak to them. That tilt is your dog doing cognitive labor in real time with their whole brain pointed at you. And when they're finished working, they sigh. A 2024 study in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior confirmed that dog sighing appears across multiple distinct emotional contexts. It isn't just fatigue. A sigh accompanied by half-closed eyes while pressed against your leg signals contentment. The same sound with fully open eyes signals disappointment. A slow exhale when you return after hours away is something else entirely: physiological regulation. The dog's nervous system has been holding tension in your absence. Not dramatically, not pathologically, just the low-level vigilance of a pack animal whose primary attachment figure is not present. When you come through the door and they drop beside you with that long, drawn-out breath, that sigh is the tension releasing. You're back. The system can relax. Every breath after yours comes back means, now I can breathe again. This is what that stretch is really doing too. When your dog drops into the play bow, front legs forward, rear up, tail in the air, the instant they see you, this is not post-nap loosening. Research from Brock University and Eötvös Loránd University has documented the play bow as a ritualized metacommunication signal with specific functions. It appears at the initiation of play, reinitiation after pauses, and as an emotional expression of positive arousal. When your dog performs this movement the second you walk in the door, they're not just stretching. They're saying, I'm glad you're here. I'm activated. I want to connect right now. 30 seconds of engagement, even just eye contact and a quick rub, tells them the invitation has been accepted. Brushing past it tells them something else. The bow is a social bid. Declining it repeatedly can, over time, create a dog that stops making bids at all. Speaking of bids, let's talk about theft. Your dog steals socks, underwear, shoes, items from your hamper, items from the floor you haven't gotten to yet. And when you come looking, they trot around with the contraband in their mouth, looking, frankly, very pleased. Here's the translation. Your clothing carries your highest concentration scent signature. For a dog, scent is presence. When you leave the house, your dog loses visual and auditory access to you, but scent persists. A dog that takes your sock to their bed isn't being mischievous. They're building a comfort nest out of the material that most strongly signals you. Your smell is their security object. The sock in the bed is the closest thing to you they can access in your absence. They're not destroying anything. They're preserving what they can. And when you come home, sometimes they bring you something in return. A dog that drops their favorite toy at your feet, the squeaky one they guard, the ball they don't share with other dogs, is performing a behavior with deep social roots. In wild canid packs, sharing resources signals trust and bonding. For your dog, who has been living in your home since they were young, you are the primary attachment figure. The toy they've chosen to offer is the highest value thing they have access to. They're not asking to play necessarily. They're offering. They're saying, this is mine, and I'm giving it to you. Some dogs bring odder items, socks again, shoes, random objects, because they've determined that coming to greet you empty-mouthed is insufficient. They want to contribute. They want to participate in the return. They see you as their person, and they want the reunion to mean something. Now turn around. If your dog walks up to you, positions themselves nearby, and simply sits with their back to you, no eye contact, no demands, just settled in your vicinity, facing away, you might wonder if you've done something wrong. You haven't. Turning the back is, in dog ethology, one of the highest expressions of trust. In a wild setting, turning your back leaves your most vulnerable points, the neck, the spine, unguarded. A dog that chooses to face away from you while staying close is not ignoring you. They're trusting you with their back. They have assessed their environment, assessed you, and concluded, there is nothing here that will hurt me. You are my safe zone, and I do not need to monitor you. If your dog does this near you, a hand placed gently on their back without pressure or sudden movement will communicate something clean and clear. I've got you too. And at night, the language continues. How your dog chooses to sleep beside you is one of the most precise behavioral indicators of how they've classified you. A dog pressed body to body is using you as a heat and comfort source and a security signal simultaneously. Pack animals historically slept in contact to conserve warmth and feel protected. A dog sleeping facing the door, between you and the exit, is doing something more specific. They've positioned themselves as the first line of response to anything that enters. They're on watch, asleep. But the most significant position is when a dog sleeps with their back to you, exposing their spine, their neck, their most vulnerable side, in your direction. They've done the math. You are not a threat. You are protection. Their unconscious body has decided you are safe enough to be vulnerable near. And when they rest their head on your pillow, nose near your face, that's proximity seeking at the most basic level. That's a creature who has chosen, out of all the places in the building they could sleep, to be as close to you as physically possible. Which brings us to the doorway. You've stepped over your dog in the threshold of a room so many times you've stopped counting. They're not lazy. Doorways are transition points, places where movement happens, where people leave and return, where things change. A dog that posts up in a doorway has found the optimal position for monitoring all relevant movement in the household. From there, they can track where every person goes, respond immediately to any change, and stay within range of the people they've bonded to. They're not blocking your path on purpose. They're doing their job. They've appointed themselves responsible for knowing where you are, and the doorway is the best tactical position for that responsibility. Here's what this all adds up to. Your dog is not a simpler version of a human. They're not trying to be people. They're doing something different and, in many ways, more demanding. They've mapped their entire social and emotional world around a species they can never fully understand. You don't speak their language. You can't communicate through scent. You probably miss most of their signals. And yet, they keep making them. They follow you to the bathroom. They bring you the sock. They sigh when you come home. They sleep with their back against yours. They've built a complete system of loyalty and communication directed at you, one that has been running since the moment they entered your life. And it requires nothing from you, except to sometimes notice it. The question isn't whether your dog loves you. That much is measurable. The question is, do you see it when it's happening? Tell me in the comments, which of these did you recognize? Which one did you get completely wrong? And if you want to keep learning what your dog is actually saying, subscribe. Or don't. But your dog will know. They always know. They'll start sleeping in the doorway at an angle that makes you feel vaguely judged. And every sigh they exhale in your direction will carry specific biochemical data about disappointment. That's not a threat. That's science.